lone soldier disobeys orders and finds a chained alien queen hidden in a room that doesn't exist. They called her the monster who started the war, until she whispered, "Kill me, or help me." He made a choice that changed everything. Now, hunted by both sides, they carry the truth that could shatter empires. But deep in the shadows, her clone is waiting. Same face, same power. Only one will decide what the galaxy becomes next. Peace or fire. If you are new here, then please subscribe this channel and show thumbs up by liking the video. Now let's move to this wonderful story. Tavern Row wasn't supposed to be here. The map said the chamber below was sealed. Command said no life signals, no power signatures. And yet, here he was, standing before a broken metal door that hummed like something breathing. His boots cracked glass and dust beneath them as he stepped inside, rifle tight in his hands. The hallway was dim, wires hanging down like roots, sparks flickering from the ceiling above. Everything about this level felt wrong. Hot, silent, waiting. His squad had moved to the upper decks, clearing what was left of the alien warship. Echo 9's orders were simple. Sweep, verify no survivors, extract. Taven had almost followed them. Almost. But something inside him, instinct maybe, had pulled him here. A whisper in the back of his mind told him this part wasn't empty. He hadn't told the others. They wouldn't have listened. He stepped through the doorway. The air shifted. It was warmer here, heavier. Like the walls were alive and exhaling slowly. Each breath he took tasted like rust and fire. He moved carefully, flashlight sweeping across the shadows. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the walls, like forgotten language etched into bone. And then he heard it. A sound so soft he thought it was just in his head. Someone crying, barely. He followed it. The room at the end was circular. Silk sheets, torn and stained, hung from the ceiling. Cages lined the walls, some open, some crushed. The floor was littered with scraps of armor, melted tools and blood that had dried into black stains. And in the middle of the room, under a cracked beam of light, knelt a figure in chains. Taven froze. Every breath in his chest stopped. He had seen that face before, in briefings, reports, and wanted holograms. She was the war's shadow, the name that made soldiers whisper during night shifts. Celari, once called the Flame Queen, now shackled and broken before him. Her skin, once radiant with golden shimmer, was now pale and bruised. Her silver hair was tangled and dull. One arm hung uselessly at her side. Shackles circled her neck, wrists and ankles glowing with faint pulses of alien tech. Her head was bowed, but as Taven stepped forward, she slowly looked up. Her eyes glowed violet, not with fire, but with exhaustion. Sorrow. Something human. Her voice cracked the silence. "Kill me," she whispered. "Please." His hands shook. The rifle nearly slipped. He had come here to follow orders. Confirm no survivors, leave no witnesses. This woman, this queen, was supposed to be the root of all blood spilled across 3 systems. And yet, she didn't look like a monster. She looked like someone who had lost everything. He took a slow breath. "Why are you still here?" he asked, voice barely audible. Her smile was small, bitter. "Because peace scared them more than war." He blinked. "You started it. The fires, the death, millions." "I tried to stop it," she said softly, "but they needed someone to blame, someone to fear." Taven lowered the rifle slightly. The light flickered above them, casting broken shadows across her face. She wasn't fighting. She wasn't even angry. She was just tired. He stepped closer, eyes fixed on the chains. The metal pulsed with energy, wrapped tightly around her limbs. Alien engineering, complex, alive. It would take time to break. "If I help you," he said. "What happens next?" She looked up at him again. "Then your life ends. But maybe something better begins." His mind screamed, His duty, his training, all told him to walk away, to end it. But that voice inside, the same one that led him here, whispered something else. Look again. He reached into his bag, pulled out a plasma cutter and knelt beside her. This is going to hurt, he warned. I've already hurt, she replied. The first shackle burned away with a hiss. Smoke curled around her wrist and she flinched but didn't scream. One by one he removed the restraints. With each chain that fell, a weight lifted from the room. When the final shackle hit the ground, she didn't move. Can you walk? He asked. I'll try, she said, her voice almost a breath. He wrapped an arm around her and lifted her gently. She was light. Too light. Every part of her trembled from pain and weakness. Still, she stood beside him, leaning on his shoulder. What's your name? He asked. You wouldn't be able to say it, she whispered. But you can call me Solari. Tavin nodded once. Then he tapped his earpiece. Command, this is Echo 9, he said quietly. Bringing something back. Don't ask what. He ended the call before they could reply. As they made their way out of the chamber, Solari leaned on him, her head resting lightly against his shoulder. And in that moment, Tavin forgot she was an alien. Forgot the briefings. Forgot the war. She was just someone who'd been left behind, and he had chosen not to leave her. Far above, the ship's engines waited, and somewhere deep in space the war still burned. But now, in this quiet place filled with broken silk and faded blood, a soldier and a queen had made a choice, and the galaxy would never forget it. The ship was old, barely flying, patched together with scrap metal and tape. The engines coughed more than they roared, and the warning lights blinked across every screen. Tavin held the controls tightly, knuckles white, as the stars blurred past the window. Behind him, Solari lay still, wrapped in a faded gray blanket. Her breathing was slow, uneven. Every few minutes she coughed, deep, raw sounds that brought dark liquid to her lips. Her golden skin had turned pale. Her glow was fading. He didn't know alien medicine. He didn't know what her body needed or how much time she had. But he knew one thing. If he turned back, they would take her. If they took her, she would never see light again. They flew toward the edge of known space, away from fleets and flags. Tavin set course for an old mining colony, long forgotten by both human and alien hands. It was the kind of place where people disappeared, where no one asked questions. Perfect. When they landed 3 days later, a red dust storm was sweeping the ground. The buildings stood like hollow bones, their walls cracked and half buried in sand. No signals, no guards, no power. Just silence. Tavin stepped off the ship and looked around. No movement, no heat readings. They were alone. He carried her in his arms. She felt lighter than she should. He found a sealed bunker, broke open the hatch, and cleared a space inside. He made a bed out of thermal blankets, stacked empty crates, to block the wind, and started a fire from broken wire coils. He boiled water, crushed dry rations, and did everything he could to keep her warm. He didn't sleep. He didn't speak. He just watched her. On the 7th day, her eyes opened. They were dim but still violet. She looked at him for a long moment, then whispered, "You didn't run?" Tavin gave a tired smile. Wasn't in the mood? She blinked slowly, tried to sit up but fell back. "Why?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. He didn't know the answer. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe curiosity. Maybe something deeper, something quiet and stubborn that refused to let go. He sat beside her and said, "You didn't beg. You didn't scream. You just waited." Her eyes closed again. "I did." That night, a black ship circled the sky above the ruins. It didn't land. Didn't signal. Just passed once, then vanished. Tavin watched it through the cracked ceiling, rifle in hand. "They found us," he whispered. Solari didn't move, but her voice came soft. "They're not here for me. They're here for you too." Tavin turned to her. "Why?" "Because you helped the monster," she said. The next day, more ships appeared in the sky. They came at night, quiet shadows that hovered above, scanning the ruins. Taven moved her every few hours, bunker to bunker, ruin to ruin. He left false trails, burned clothes, used smoke to block thermal sensors. It worked. For a while. On the 10th night, he was fixing a broken heater when she spoke again. "They'll never stop." He looked at her. "You sound sure." She sat up slowly. Her back was straighter now, her eyes sharp again. "I know how they think. They don't want me alive, but they don't want me dead either. They want me broken. And they want you to be the one who breaks me." Taven felt something cold settle in his stomach. "You think they're using me?" She nodded. "They already are." He sat beside her, staring at the wall. He wanted to believe she was wrong. He wanted to believe he was doing something good, but the truth sat heavy inside him. Then she said something that chilled his blood. "They put a tracker in me." He turned sharply. "What?" "Before they locked me away," Solari said. "They told me I'd never leave. And if I did, they'd always know where I was." She touched her neck. "They put it deep, near the spine. Not a normal tracker. Something alive." Taven stood and paced the room. "That's how they're finding us," she nodded. "You have to cut it out." His hands trembled. "What if I kill you? Then give me mercy." He didn't sleep. He cleaned every tool, every blade. He boiled, cloth, lit fire, sharpened metal. He built a table from metal panels and padded it with torn jackets. When the sun rose, she laid on it without a word. "I trust you," she said. "You shouldn't. You saved me once. That doesn't mean I won't mess this up." "No," she said. "It means you won't walk away if you do." He cut slowly, carefully. Sweat rolled down his face. The tracker was buried deep, pulsing like a second heart. When he finally pulled it free, it twitched in his hand. A black pearl, warm and soft. He crushed it beneath his boot. Outside, the skies were quiet. For the first time in days, no ships appeared, but he knew it wouldn't last. Days passed. Solari grew stronger. She could walk now, though her steps were shaky. They left the ruins and traveled to a place beyond maps, an old cargo outpost that had become a shelter for the forgotten. No rules, no leaders. Just broken people hiding from broken systems. No one asked who Solari was. Taven told them she was mute, burned in the war. No one cared. They lived in an abandoned transport station. Rats in the walls, mold on the ceiling, but it was quiet. And that was enough. Solari began to help. She fixed water pipes with her hands. She gave her food to children. She whispered to those in pain. No speeches, no orders, just presence. One night a child came to her, shaking, fevered. Solari held her gently, humming a soft tune in her own language. The child slowly relaxed, pressing her head against Solari's chest. Taven watched from the doorway. This wasn't the monster from his briefings. This was someone who had seen too much pain, and still chose kindness. Later that night, he sat beside her by a fire. He stared at the flames, then asked, "Why did they lie about you?" Solari didn't look at him. She watched the fire instead. "Because it's easier to fight a villain than a person." He didn't speak. She continued, "I offered peace. I signed a treaty, gave up land, offered to stand trial. They said I was weak. The humans thought it was a trap. So they burned the treaty, and they burned my name." Taven nodded slowly. "I grew up hating you. Then you didn't grow up alone. I don't know what to believe anymore." She turned to him finally. "Believe what you see, not what you're told." And in the morning, he saw her beside an old man with a failing lung. She touched his back and whispered something. Not magic, just care. Later, she repaired a solar panel for a family of 3, and later still, she pulled a wounded thief out of a fire. The people whispered now, not in fear, but in wonder. And wonder invites eyes. Ships were coming again. But this time, They weren't just looking for her. They were looking for both of them, and the war they thought was over was only just beginning. The world they landed on had no name. Not anymore. It had once been a place of green hills and quiet stars. Now, the sky was black with ash. Lightning cracked the ground every few minutes. No birds, no life. Just broken metal and silent wind. The perfect place to hide something important, or to bury it forever. Tavin helped Solari down the ramp. Her legs were stronger now, her back straight. She wore a dark coat wrapped around her frame, her silver hair tied behind her head. Her eyes, always soft before, were sharp now. They had found something that could change everything. The truth wasn't just a dream anymore, it was real. And it was buried here. They walked for hours through wreckage and ruins. Bones from old machines and melted armor marked the trail. Every step reminded them of what had been lost. Finally, they found the entrance. A door carved into the base of a jagged cliff. It was made of stone and strange metal, smooth and tall, with a single symbol at its center, a rising sun split in half. Solari placed her hand on the symbol. The stone trembled. A low hum filled the air, and the door slowly opened. Stale air rushed out, cold and still. They stepped inside, weapons ready, but there were no traps. Only silence. The halls were lined with carvings, not words, but images. Kings and queens, battles and peace, hands joined, then broken. It was a story, drawn across the walls of everything that came before, memories frozen in dust. They entered a chamber filled with glass tubes. Inside each one was a figure suspended in stillness. Human. Alien. Even species Taven didn't recognize. "What is this place?" he whispered. "A record," Solari said, "of what we were, of what they erased." Deep below, they found the memory vault, a round room with a circular table at its center. Above it floated a crystal, glowing faintly with shifting light. Solari touched it. The walls came alive with moving images. People laughing, building cities, exploring planets together. No war, no fear. Unity. Tavin stepped closer, unable to look away. "This isn't possible." The images changed. Now they showed a meeting. Leaders from both sides exchanging documents, signing treaties. Then a shadowed figure stepped forward. The screen flickered. Files were deleted. Leaders disappeared. Explosions. Sabotage. A war born in secret. Taven's voice cracked. "Pause it." Solari froze the image. He stared at the figure. "Can you enhance it?" She moved her hand through the crystal's light. The image sharpened. The face became clear. Taven's heart dropped. "That's General Orvin," he said. Solari nodded. "He gave the order to kill my council. He blamed me, sent my face across the stars." Tavin backed away. "We started it. You were just soldiers," she said. "So was I." They downloaded the full archive, every file, every image. The truth was in their hands now, but truth alone wasn't enough. Not if no one heard it. Not if no one believed it. Solari looked at him. "What do we do with it?" "Show them," Tavin said. "All of them." They sent the files out in pieces, small messages with big truths, not to governments but to those in the shadows. Smugglers, rebels, outposts that didn't answer to anyone. They used old codes and hidden networks, sending the truth like sparks into dry grass. Then, they waited. 1 week passed. Then 2. On the 12th night, a signal came. Not words, just coordinates. They followed it into a shattered asteroid field, to a hollowed-out mining rock turned into a hidden port. Ships from a dozen races circled above. Inside the hangar, walls were covered in graffiti. Strange music echoed through. The vents. It was not a place for kings. A woman with half a metal face met them. Her voice was rough. "You got the crystal?" Tavin nodded. "You got truth?" "Yes." She smiled. Then follow me. Truth's the only thing left worth fighting for. She led them deep underground into a war room lit by old screens and hand-drawn maps. Rebels filled the space. Pilots, soldiers, scientists. No leaders, just believers. They played the files. The room went silent. Some looked away, some cried. Some grew angry. They didn't all trust Solari. Some had fought against her. But now they listened, and one by one they started to believe. Taven stood at the back of the room watching her speak. She didn't shout. She didn't command. She just told the truth. Her voice was soft, steady. And in that quiet, it carried more weight than any weapon. After the meeting, a child approached Taven. Alien, maybe 6 years old, with green eyes and silver skin. She stared at him for a moment, then asked, "Are you her knight?" Taven blinked. "What?" "My papa said the queen has a knight now. A human who protects her." Taven looked down at her, smiled softly. "Maybe." "What's your name?" she asked. He paused, then said the words he never thought he would. "I don't have one anymore." But inside, he didn't feel lost. He felt free. Somewhere far beyond that asteroid, another signal began to pulse. Someone else had seen the message. Not a rebel. Not a believer. Someone powerful. Someone angry. They weren't sending words, they were sending war. It began with silence, no warning, no signal, just a flicker of the lights and a single scream from the hallway. By the time Taven reached the command room, the floor was already wet with blood. Bodies of rebel scouts lay still, their weapons untouched. Something had moved too fast, too precise. Solari was behind him, her breath steady, her eyes searching the dark. They followed the trail, a smear of black fluid leading into the lower levels of the rebel base. The lights above flickered again, casting long shadows along the corridor walls. Then they saw her, a figure standing in the center of the chamber. She wore armor forged in flame, shaped like Solari's old royal battle gear, but sharper, darker. Her face was identical to Solari's, but her eyes glowed gold, hard and fierce like a sun that never set. Taven's finger moved to his trigger. "What is that?" he asked. Solari stepped forward, her voice calm but low. "She's me, or what they tried to make me." The clone tilted her head. Her voice was smooth, cold, like a knife sliding across silk. "So this is where you've been hiding, sister?" Taven moved between them. "What do you want?" The clone smiled. "Nothing much, just the galaxy." And her head. Solari didn't flinch. "You were created in the Royal Labs, a weapon, a version of me designed to end peace." "No," the clone replied. "I was built to finish what you were too weak to start." Taven narrowed his eyes. "And you're just a puppet?" The clone turned her head slowly. "Funny. She said the same about you." Taven didn't move. "You talk a lot for someone standing alone." The clone's smile faded. "I'm not alone." The walls exploded inward. 3 assault teams stormed the base. They moved like smoke, silent, fast, brutal. Masked soldiers with black rifles spread through the halls. Alarms screamed, too late. Red lights flashed overhead. Taven pulled Solari back. "We run. Now." They moved fast, dodging fire, weaving through smoke. Rebels tried to fight but were cut down. Taven fired as he ran, one shot at a time, each one deliberate. Solari moved beside him like wind, not wasting a single movement. Behind them, the clone followed. She didn't fire. She didn't shout. She just watched, her golden eyes unblinking. They reached the vault room. Solari sealed the door, locked the console, and turned to the crystal that still floated in the center of the chamber. "We can't let her take this." "She won't," Taven said. "She doesn't want to destroy it. She wants to rewrite it." Solari nodded. "Then we make sure no one can." She placed her hand on the crystal. The glow pulsed brighter. Data fragments began to split, scatter. I'm sending the truth across space, she said, to every rebel node, every hidden net. It will take time, but it will reach them. Taven stepped forward. You'll lose the original. We have no choice. Outside, the door shook from repeated blasts. The clone was almost through. Let her come, Taven muttered. Solari touched his arm. No, she doesn't want the crystal. She wants me. Then, we fight together. The door exploded inward. The clone stepped through smoke and sparks alone, her weapon still sheathed. She didn't need it. She only needed to speak. Solari walked to her. Taven tried to stop her, but she whispered, "This is between us." He froze. The two figures stood face to face, one born of war, one forged through it. The same face, the same voice, but two different hearts. The clone raised her hand. "You forgave them," she said, disgust in her tone. "I forgave you," Solari replied. The clone hesitated. "What? You didn't choose this. They built you. They pointed you at me, but you can still choose something else." The clone's hand trembled. Her lips tightened. "You're weak." "No," Solari said. "I'm free." In that moment, the clone screamed and lunged. Taven fired once. The shot struck her shoulder, throwing her to the ground. She rolled, coughing, bleeding dark silver. Solari rushed to her side. The clone hissed, teeth clenched. "Why didn't you kill me?" "Because you're not the monster. You're me," Solari whispered. "And I believe we can still change." Minutes later, rebels flooded the room. Half the base was gone, but the data had already launched. The truth was in motion. It could no longer be stopped. Taven sat beside Solari in the medbay. She didn't speak. Neither did he. Both watched the clone through thick glass as she floated in a healing tank, eyes closed, unmoving. Finally, Taven asked, "Do you think she'll live?" Solari's voice was soft. "I hope so. She's the part of me I tried to forget. But maybe she's the part we need to face." Above the base, rebel ships rose into orbit. They carried data, truth, and a warning. The Empire would not sit silent. Now they knew the Queen had returned, and she had a voice they couldn't silence. 3 weeks later, the clone still slept. Taven visited her once, leaned close to the glass and whispered, "If you wake up, don't come back for revenge. Come back for something better." Solari stood behind him watching. She placed her hand on his shoulder. "It's time." Taven turned. "You really want to go back there?" "Not want," she said. "Need. They'll kill you. Then someone else finishes the speech. And if no one does, then at least I tried." The war wasn't over, but now the galaxy had something it never had before, a second chance. And they were ready to take it.